everybody. Jeremy over here, back with you on Fire the Can for the 24-25 school year, and we are glad to be back. And there's a lot of changes that have taken place this year. As you can see, we are video now. We are going to video Fire the Can each week and provide that to you on Wednesday evenings. And we know this is something a lot of you guys look forward to. Had some parents last week even ask me, when are we coming back? When are we going to do this again? Well, here we are. And we want to thank Travis Albee and the marketing staff here at Brook Hill for providing us with the equipment that we have and the ability to do this the way we are. And we think it's going to be a great addition to what we do here at the Brook Hill School. And so each week you'll hear from our coaches, our in-season head coaches. We'll have a special guest most weeks. This week we have a special guest you'll hear from here shortly. And so we just think it's a great way for you to know what's going on here at the Brook Hill School and Athletic Department each and every week. So here we go. We won't keep you long, but hope you enjoy this week's episode of Fire the Cannon. Jeremy Hubbard here with head cross country coach Josiah White. And coach, I want to talk to you about your high school group, obviously, but let's talk a little bit about your middle school group because it's a group that has a lot of kids in it. You see them working hard all the time, and it's enabled you to continue the growth of the program from the ground up, and that's really what's important.
Yeah, getting those middle schoolers to come up. We're trying to develop a passion for running. That's kind of our main goal in middle school, and I feel like we're doing that. And then on top of that, it's like icing on the cake when they are starting to ask for, I want a little bit more. Coach, can I do another 5 minutes like the high school group is doing?
Yeah.
And so we're seeing that from even our seventh graders.
What I like about it too is I see you have a group of parents that's involved too, and a
Mhm.
group of parents who, I noticed that last year, and you're seeing it again this year. Parents who were at the meets, parents who are asking what they can do to help you out, and that's huge for you is trying to build a program from 6 to 12, right? But then you talk a little bit about their success because maybe it's not winning meets, maybe it's just PRs and it's growing that level like you're talking about. Kind of how do you measure success at the junior high level because that's completely different than what you're trying to do at the varsity level.
Yeah, yeah. Well, really, we're looking at are those guys and girls excited about racing? Do they come? Are they consistent? And our middle school definitely has been. And then when we line up on Saturday, are they excited to be there and excited in the race? And if I get that, then that's a win. And again, like icing on top of the cake, like I said, is now I get really hungry and thirsty to race and compete even harder and harder as the season goes on.
In a sport that's hard to get kids to want to compete at. Let's talk about the high school group because it's an experienced group. You have a number of kids who are back. You have some new kids involved. I know on the girls' side, you really have some experience that's fared well. But talk about both sides and the experience and the results they've had so far.
Yeah, like you said, with the girls, Anastasia, Blair, Ava, those girls have been going for 3 seasons ever since I've been here, and really been proud of all of them.
Yeah.
Anastasia, Blair have already qualified for the state meet and put up their second fastest times ever, and we've got another month to go.
Yeah.
So really excited about where they stand. And then our guys, can't say enough about Jose Gonzalez, what he's done for our guys program. Individually, he's already qualified for state, but he's made all the rest of our guys better.
And it's funny because he comes in as a soccer kid.
Yeah.
And you think, okay, what else can he do? And he's done very well.
Yeah,
I think he was like your athlete of the week a couple of times early on in his meets. I do want to mention your athlete of the week from last week, which is Blair Brister, and I know you mentioned Blair a minute ago and the things she's done. Just definitely a tremendous multi-sport athlete for the school. But
Absolutely.
talk about what she's been able to do for you, and especially what she did last week.
Yeah, going in to the cross country season, we sat down, we said, what does this look like as a dual sport athlete?
Yeah.
And I said, here's what I think we need to do for you to feel like you've done justice for your ability. Like, here's when we need to show up. And she's done a great job.
Yeah.
And on certain, and then on some weeks, she's gone above and beyond what I asked of her as a dual sport athlete. So couldn't speak more highly of her than that. And then last week, she just competed her tail off.
Yeah.
Not great conditions. Like it wasn't just the most ideal course, and it was hot.
Yeah.
We had to stand around and wait for a long time. So under those conditions, I was really proud of how she competed.
I know even this morning, as we're filming this on Wednesday, she has a volleyball game last night. I see her out there working out this morning. I mean, it says a lot about who she is as an athlete, number one.
Yeah.
This week, you guys had a change in your meet. You're going to Union Grove on
Yes,
Saturday.
Sir.
Talk a little bit about that course. You know anything about it? Have you ever been there before? Kind of what
Yeah.
you're expecting?
Just a map. That's all I know. I've gotten the course map, so looked at that. know that coach a little bit, and he cares about what he's doing. So I'm excited because when
Good.
I called him, he's going and putting dirt in holes. So it's indication that he's going to do a good job and have a good course. A lot of the teams that we've already seen, we're going to see again. So I'm excited
Cool.
about that because our kids develop a sense of familiarity, and that brings competition when we're more familiar with our opponents.
Perfect. Something coming up a few weeks out that I want to mention today so we can
Yeah.
get it on the radar. October 12th is our annual Warrior Run. Usually that's in it goes with our Warrior Bowl. It didn't work out this year
Mm.
calendar wise, but it's October 12th here at Brook Hill. And obviously that's a unique time to get to run on our course here at the
Yeah.
school, which is probably more unique than anywhere else.
Yeah. For sure.
But talk to about the Warrior 5K that you do. You started this last year.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we'll have that open 5K for anyone. Yeah, running enthusiast doesn't matter what age. Anybody can run in that 5K at 7 a.m. on October 12th. So we had that last year. Had about 20 participants in that. I think they really enjoyed it. It's a unique 5K because it's on a cross country
Yeah.
course. And then it's our cross country course was a little bit more unique
Yeah.
because of the hills and the different terrain that we have that really make it a true cross country course.
I know there was a link that went out today on social media. It'll be coming out in the newsletter this week if you want to be a part of that. And if all else fails, if you can't find that anywhere, they can call the school. They can reach out to you through email, call the athletic office. If you
Yeah.
want to run that 5K at 7 a.m., hey, more power to you. Help the kids out. We'll get you signed up for that. But the Warrior Run, that's kind of our chance to show off our course. And I
Yeah.
know that you and Coach Springer and Coach Rodrigo, you guys do a great job getting the course ready. Talk a little bit about the uniqueness of the kids getting to run a cross country meet here.
Yeah. On your own campus is kind of a big deal. And when your own campus has a cross country course, not just soccer fields or running
Right.
around the baseball field,
Right.
like we actually get to
Yeah.
go out into the woods and
Yeah.
we have trails. So the different terrains that we have really make it feel unique. And that's what people talk about when they come to our course. They're like, man, I really like this because one, you've got these different terrains. I feel like my kids are actually at a cross country course, and then you add on top of that the hills. That's what people have been talking to me about the past couple of weeks. They're like, "Hey, we're getting ready to come to your course because we know
You
there's
better
going to be
train
hills."
differently. Yeah, you
Yeah,
got to train differently.
yeah,
So that's October the 12th. I know the Open 5K starts at 7. What time does the meet actually start that day?
yeah. So we'll start with actually junior high first, and we'll run them at 7:45.
Okay.
The first race will be at 7:45, and then it's a rolling schedule, so you can plan approximately 20 to 25 minutes between each
And
race.
I say that to encourage you to come out and watch because
Yeah,
it's a chance to show off our campus, which is always fun
absolutely.
and in a
Yeah.
unique way. One other thing I want to mention is we always have the annual middle school state championships. I know that's coming up too. What's the date on that?
Yeah, that's going to be October 12th. So we're doing the middle
Oh,
school,
perfect.
and then the Warrior Run. We're calling that the Warrior Run just for the high school.
Perfect.
So
So there'll be a lot of people here because of both of those
yeah,
things. The middle school state championship is always well attended from private schools all around, and then the high school meet is always a huge one too. It feels like.
yeah,
So coming out and watch that on October 12th. So, Coach, enjoyed it again as
yeah.
always,
Thank you.
and we'll be back next week. Talk to you more here on Fire the Cannon.
All right, appreciate it.
Yeah. All right, here with Coach Savannah Wilson, the head volleyball coach here at the Brook Hill School on Fire the Cannon. And, Coach, it's been a unique or a different ride over the last couple of weeks with district starting and some non-district games, and people don't realize the difference in that district schedule when you're only playing on Thursdays and you got to fill in the gaps. We talked a little bit yesterday on Guard Game Day about Brentwood last week and how that game went, which by the way was close the entire time. You lose 3-0. That's the thing I hate about volleyball is you can be close and lose by 2 points and still get swept. It's crazy to me, but then last night against Palestine, you get in one of those nip and tuck games again, and you're able to come out with a 3-1 win. Talk a little bit about maybe what your team learned from Thursday to Tuesday.
I definitely think, we're working through some mental things right now with going, off of a hard week. We had
Yeah.
homecoming, long travel.
Yeah.
Um, I definitely think right now we're focusing on that mental toughness game. And I think that's really kind of where we were at last night, working through that.
Yeah, and I think it showed to lose a game that's close on Thursday and come back and win a match on Tuesday when you're in that same boat against they're not a Brentwood, right? But still a quality team. They were able to push you and you had to work through it, and I think that's great. Uh, Before we talk about the rest of the week, I do want to talk about your middle school group for a minute because it's a middle school group that has a ton of girls. Uh, I feel like there's 92 of them out there, and you probably do too during practice
Right.
sometimes. But talk about your middle school group and what they've done because I feel like as I've watched them grow and I've talked to some of the middle school coaches, like there's some tremendous growth we've seen so far with them.
Yeah, we're really excited about our middle school group, especially because we have, like you said, some great athletes, some great height. Um, we're just trying to again work through the mental game. Female sports, it's hard to work through that mental game.
What are you talking about? Yeah, I know. But yeah, so I think it's been fun to watch them, and I think the middle school group as a whole on the female side is a group that we're going to be able to watch the next couple of years. And I was talking to Coach White about this as well. But being able just to establish a program from the sixth grade, seventh grade, eighth grade level up, that's how you build it. And we're fortunate we're in a spot to where not only the kids involved, but the parents are invested and the school's invested in that middle school group. And I think it makes your job a lot easier going forward.
Yeah, I definitely think being here, the word that always comes to mind is it's so special because
Yeah.
we get to grow these athletes and be with them, and
Yeah.
we have an opportunity to create a bond with these kids.
And every school doesn't get that, and it's not because being a varsity coach is anything special, but most of the time your middle school kids aren't working with your varsity coaches, and that
Right.
makes a huge difference on a daily basis. Let's talk a little bit about tomorrow night's game, Thursday, is you're back in district action. I believe Regents is coming to town, and they're a team that obviously we haven't played before. They get to now make the 4 hour trip up here
Right.
and play, which is a whole nother deal. But talk a little bit about what you know about them and kind of what to expect tomorrow night.
They're, I mean, another strong team. We're
Yeah.
gonna have to fight. We're gonna have to show up. But I definitely think it's gonna be a good fight, and we're excited to see everybody come out.
And I think the great thing about it is looking at the district, when you look at the standings, there's a clear cut between the top four and the next, I think, three. I think you only get seven. But so it's kind of one of those things you don't want to just take it for granted, but you know you're going to be in the postseason and you use it as a chance to develop your mindset for when you get there, right? I
Right.
mean, it's playing all these quality teams now so that we're ready when we get to the playoffs.
Yeah, and I definitely think that's going to set us up for success going forward. And like I said, kind of just making that move.
It's going to be exciting. I want to talk to you about your athlete of the week. We talked a little bit about this on Guard Game Day yesterday, but Hadley Clark had a great week for you last week statistically. We mentioned yesterday as a senior, just kind of leading, but talk a little bit about what she's meant to you and kind of what earned her that last week.
I definitely think, Hadley, like you said, quiet leader. Like she's, somebody that she's our go-to.
Yeah.
She's going to keep us excited or, keep us relaxed whenever we're in those panic moments.
And man, you mentioned the female athletes side when you're coaching girl athletes, like you got to have that. Like you got somebody that's going to calm you down and keep you focused when the chips are down. One thing I do want to mention is as we go through the district schedule, obviously a home game tomorrow night. The JV game starts at, there won't be a JV game tomorrow.
Nope.
I forget this. For those of you watching
So
at home, when the Austin schools come here or we go there, there's no JV games. That's a whole different deal. So 5 o'clock should be the start time tomorrow night. So you got plenty of time. Come in and watch the volleyball game at 5. Go watch the football games after that. A lot of stuff going on tomorrow, but it'll be fine. I do want to mention to you one of the other things you do here is you're involved in the athletic marketing and to kind of pull away from volleyball for a minute. The Brook Hill golf tournament's coming up on October 21st. You and I have been working on this and with some of these things, but talk a little bit about some of the things you've released so far that we're going to be having a silent auction or raffle for.
Yeah, so, we're having our silent auction again this year. And the first thing that we've released is our customized dunks from Mr. Brady. So shout out to Mr. Brady for, going through and doing that for us.
And he says he has like his own special color collection at Nike. I don't know. That's what he says, but we'll see that. I know there's some AJ Minter things coming. You're going to be releasing that on social media as we go through. But October 21st, if you want to play in the golf tournament, obviously reach out to the athletic department. You can call, you can email, find any of us, and we'll get you hooked up in the right spot. I know there's still plenty of space available for teams that want to play. So, Coach, good luck to you the rest of the week, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thank you.
All right, back here on Fire the Cannon, and a special guest this week, and we'll talk about one in a second, but I'm joined by Coach David Collins, head boys soccer coach, defensive coordinator, assistant athletic director. What else you do?
Seventh grade science.
Seventh grade
keeps me busy.
That's whatever. But I have Coach Collins on today because obviously last spring the boys soccer team did something they had not done before here, and that's win a state championship. And we'll talk about that in a minute, but we're bringing it back up today because something pretty special got to happen this past Sunday at Over at Eagles Bluff. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we finally got to have our ring ceremony, so it was awesome to get to celebrate one more time with the guys and hand the rings out, and they were super excited to get their hardware finally.
And everybody's like, man, it's so late, but it's like, who cares? And
Yeah.
when you get that ring, it doesn't matter. I'd wait a year for it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But and obviously, you guys got together Sunday over at Eagles Bluff, got to have dinner together and get the rings. And I know a lot of guys weren't there, but they'll get to, and I keep looking at it because they're go just put it up there, Coach. Just show them. Okay, yeah, it's pretty good. But a unique opportunity. Let's talk about that team last year. I know it's last year, but let's kind of rehash a little bit because you've been there with the girls, and to get there with the guys, and a special group of guys that I don't know, Coach. Maybe it's your most talented team ever. I don't know, but I feel like it was a group that loved each other and took care of each other the best.
Yeah, I think the latter is for sure. They were a team that truly loved each other. I said this after the state championship game that these guys sing on the bus together. They just have so much fun, and nothing phases them. They're obviously super talented. We've got a couple of guys playing in college, but it was just a lot of fun with that group of guys because of how hard they worked and the way that they just enjoyed being together through the entire process.
We were talking off the air a little bit about how many championships you've won, not just here but everywhere. Kind of talk. Where does this one rank? Because I know this one's special to you with the guys.
It is. It means a lot. My two boys played here, and we got really close with both of them, but couldn't pull it off. And every championship is special. It never gets old. I would do it every year, obviously, but but this one means a lot because the boys program is something that is really special to me, and I've obviously put a lot of time and effort into building this program where it is, and our success is, it's due to great kids. I believe our system and what we do is good, but the kids have to buy in and the kids have to do the work. And last year's team did all of the above.
I know you lost a good number of players from that group. You got some guys that are coming back. You got some guys that have come in. And I know it's way early. We're getting close, within a month of practice. Kind of where do you see this year's team headed? I mean, what does it look like for you?
I think we're going to be very competitive. We have, 3 out of 4 starters on defense back. Our all-state goalkeepers back. 2 starters in the midfield back. So I think we have a good chance to make another run. We've got to have some of the younger guys that were on the team last year hopefully develop, grow a little bit, and mature, and can step into the role that's available for them. And we'll see how it all comes together.
Yeah, I'm not sure you expected at this point last year either, but you got there, and you kind of started the run. Like the Home of Champions thing started because of what you guys did in March, and so we definitely want to recognize you guys for that. And that's a beautiful ring. I think a lot of people would love to have one of those.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
It's special when your guys are, but we've got a bunch of kids now that have won a state championship in a lot of sports, and that says a lot about what we're doing overall. But congratulations once again to you guys, and as always, Coach, we'll be talking to you soon when soccer season starts.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's coming around.
All right, back here with head football coach Scott Ryle on Fire the Cannon this week, and Coach, it's a unique week now because the non-district part's over and it all counts now. Talk a little bit about what you're looking for this week as we transition from non-district to district. How does that change your mindset and everybody else's mindset?
Well, I think that the practice is over. I think use those non-district games to get ready and see what you have as you go to district play. So I'm excited about the challenge, but the mindset is definitely different. Because every game matters and will determine our playoff seeding.
You mentioned this to the kids the other day that it's probably been a long time. 10 years I've been around, 9 for you, that we haven't had a district schedule that's been this big. Like right. a 6-game district schedule that starts in week 4, week 5 is pretty early. Talk a little bit about kind of that grind, because it is a grind now, but with the number of teams in the district that are competitive and how you manage that going forward.
Yeah, when we set up our schedule, there's some other things that go into it, but we had very few non-district games, and then we had a bye so early, so it's going to be a long grind, and we're going to go all of our district games in a row without a stop. But I think we're going to accept that challenge. Sometimes taking that week off actually hurts a team, and you get in a rhythm, and so I'm excited that we're done with our byes, done with our non-district schedule. So I'm looking forward to it.
And I think people would look at our schedule and say, obviously the 2 biggest games on the district schedule are first, which I think is an advantage for you. That it's easy to motivate kids when you have these 2, and obviously Regents this week and Grace next week. We'll talk about that more, but talk a little bit about last week first, because I think there are a number of things from last week that were huge for us. Coming off of a week off, dealing with some injuries, right. A number of kids stepping in, and it just kind of started slow, but it didn't stay slow very long.
No, and it's a credit to our team of we had 2 guys out for different reasons, and Hayden stepped up. Hayden Watson moved from running back to offensive guard in a 3-day practice, and arguably had one of the best nights on the offensive front, and that's why he was our player of the week. And that was huge for us to do that, and you're right. Taking a week off and then getting back into it is tough. But I think our kids practiced well for 2 weeks and got ready.
Yeah, and it's not just a week off. It's a week off with the seniors gone. They don't get to practice until Friday. The young guys got a lot of reps, but at the same time, you have a lot of guys who didn't get full reps, and that's a big deal. Um, talk a little bit about kind of, you mentioned Hayden stepping in. This has been a trend for us all year to where as the guy has gone down, depth is an issue. And so as guys have gone down, different people have stepped up. And you mentioned Hayden, the athlete of the week last week, but he hasn't been the only one. It's been pretty fun to watch our guys rally around each other.
Yeah, it's been pretty crazy. Early on in the year, we had Marcelo and Jonas stepping up and willing to do that and coming up to us about moving to tackle and then Ronnie doing it on defensive line because the guy was out and he's done a great job. He's been a bright spot on the defense and Zach had to step up against Frisco. I mean, you got a freshman that had no idea he was going to play, was in a sling in the morning with the banged up shoulder from the JV night before, and I was proud of how he responded with both quarterbacks getting hurt.
And we can go back and look at that 2 weeks ago because that's a game that on the first play of the game when you lose your starting quarterback, it throws everything into chaos.
It does.
And then to lose the next guy in the second quarter, your head's kind of spinning. And fortunately, we have guys, older guys, who were able to rally around Zach and do that. It says a lot about them. It says a lot about Samuel and Cam.
Mm-hmm.
To not be in the game, to be out, to know they're not going back in. And I think you can't say enough about those two and how they handled Zach in that night.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We talked about that Saturday when we watched film. You can see Cam and Sam on the sideline. They are going absolutely nuts every time we made a play. And, we talked about it from the beginning. Everyone has a role, and sometimes that role might be just cheering from the sideline and patting somebody on the head. And they did it well. Obviously those two play a lot typically, but that night they went down and they cheered on the rest of the team.
And not to dwell on that, but we talk about losing Cam and Samuel at quarterback, but you lose starters on defense when you do that as well, which was a whole nother story. Let's talk about the Carlisle game because not just the game, but the week. And I do want to mention this a little bit. We had a program sweep last week, which is hard to do. Win 7th grade, 8th grade JV varsity. I do want you to mention a little bit about the middle school because those guys, to be really small numbers and small in stature, they're working really hard.
Yeah, it was really fun. I was able to get to most of the 8th grade game, which is a lot of 7th graders playing up, and they were behind, and they came back and won. And I know the younger guys won as well, big, and that was a fun night. And then JV finished it off on Thursday. But I'll tell you what, those 8th grade, it was so stinking hot and muggy, and I felt like the 8th grade game was as long as a varsity football.
It was like going to an NFL game.
It was so long.
Yeah, and you mentioned they were down 22-0 and came back and won the game. So
awesome.
They did really well in that. You mentioned Hayden Watson, they go the player of the week last week, and just a little bit, if you know Hayden, you've been here the last couple of years, he's really just had some unfortunate injuries that have just kind of really never let him be consistently on the field. And last week, when a couple of guys go down and we're looking for a guard, and I mean, literally, to pull the curtain back, we're like flipping a coin, like who are we going to ask first? Right. And Hayden volunteers and says, I want to do it to help out. And as you mentioned, had one of the better games as a guard that we've had in a long time.
No, yeah, he's a humble and a quiet young man, and he stepped up big. I mean, that was big, and I'm excited for him to be a part of probably what we're going to do the rest of the year. I mean, he's going to be a big part of that. I'm excited for him. But yeah, he's fought some injuries the last 2 years, just weird, unfortunate injuries, and I'm excited to have him back. He missed the first couple weeks as well himself.
And you volunteered to go to guard, and it's like, hey, congrats, you're probably going to stay here. But anyway, let's talk about Regents, because Regents is a school that historically is at the top, and that's just kind of what they do. If you're new to the situation, you could think DC, you can think schools like that are always at the top. They lost their quarterback for the year. He moved, went to another school. They've had a good run to start the year.
Yeah.
I think the competition they played versus what we played has been a little bit different. But talk a little bit about them and what they bring to the table.
Well, yeah, you mentioned they've had a tradition of winning. They went to a state championship game last year and lost to a really good team as well. But they're always there. I mean, they're the top 4 team in the state every year, and they're incredibly fast. I mean, you see that just pops off the film. They have quite a few guys faster than us, and they play with a lot of physicality on defense. And obviously, you can see on film they're well coached.
Yeah.
And there's not going to be. We're going to have to make plays. I mean, we're going to have some things bounce our way. But I'll tell you what, our kids have practiced so well the last few days, and they're excited for the challenges as all of us coaches too.
It's a statement game, honestly, and you mentioned it to them today in practice. It is a chance to completely change the trajectory of your year. If you win the game, the sky's the limit at that point. And I think mentally it does so much more for you if you win that game. The weather might be in our favor a little bit and maybe a little wet, which is perfect. Talk a little bit about the offense because I do. The cat's out of the bag now, there's film, people have watched it, and the offense looks a little different, right? And the one thing that's made a huge difference, we run the ball really well, obviously at times, but you have to have your quarterback be consistent. And Samuel really Friday night 6 of 6 for 100 and something yards and a touchdown. And that's what you need from that spot.
No, Samuel's such an explosive player, and not just running the ball, he throws the ball really, really well. And he's honestly one of our best running backs. I mean, in this offense, you got to have a heck of a runner at quarterback, and he does that well. Teams are going to take that away from us because they know he's a good athlete, and they're going to make other guys step up. So, running the option as part of our offense I think, is the equalizer, and it's hard to simulate for the other opponent during the week.
We talk about that as a coaching staff. When you play somebody that runs that offense, you have 4 days, 5 days to get ready, and you have to teach your guys to practice, like you're saying. So it'll be a big night. Kickoff at 7:00. Route up tailgate starts at 5. I know you're excited about this because Heath Walker will be here playing Friday night at 5:00 at the tailgate out in the parking lot, and like I said, Heath, and it'll be a great atmosphere here for the last home game for a while.
Yeah.
We won't be back for a little bit.
Long stretch.
But it'll be fun. All right. So thanks, Coach Rowell, and we'll see you next week here on Fire the Can.
All right. Thanks.